The mobile device vibrated in my pocket as I reached for a carton of breakfast cereal. Her designation illuminated the screen. My spouse. Where are you? She inquired. Her voice was strained, curt, tremulous. Aisle 7, procuring cereal with our son. A silence protracted. Abandon the trolley. Forgo everything. Proceed calmly to the entrance and exit. I froze, my hand still resting on the box. Why, I have not finished shopping. I cannot elaborate. Depart immediately. Her voice fractured, panic interwoven with My son tugged at my sleeve, asking if we could still acquire the marshmallow variety. I disregarded him, my chest constricting. My mind pulled in two directions, compliance or skepticism. But something in her intonation, it was not about peril. It was about concealment, about me not witnessing something. I grasped his hand, forced a smile, and walked out, composed, measured. Yet every stride felt heavier than the last. That was the juncture at which I knew, whatever deception was being enacted, I was not intended to observe. And so, naturally, I observed. That evening, she behaved as though nothing had transpired, preparing the meal, laughing, recounting anecdotes of no consequence. But her gaze darted, her hands shook as she poured the vintage. She presumed I was not attentive. I was perpetually attentive. The communication replayed in my mind. Not apprehension, not protection. She had not instructed me to leave the supermarket for my well-being. She instructed me to leave because of what I might perceive. What? I attempted to dismiss it, tried to submerge it beneath routine. But silence is fertile ground for misgiving, and misgiving is a seed that never ceases to flourish once sown. Her phone chimed at night. She seized it before I could glance. Too swiftly, too desperate. Work, she claimed. But she was employed in corporate finance in London. No one telephones past midnight unless funds are ablaze. I lay beside her, gazing at the ceiling. My son was asleep down the hallway, the residence maintaining its steady, familiar cadence. And yet, everything within me had undergone a transformation. That communication in aisle 7 was not fortuitous. It was a thread, and I would pull it until the entire tapestry unraveled. I became meticulous, unhurried. Her daily engagements became mine. When she bathed, I examined her device-deleted text messages, call registries, 2 pristine gaps where conversations should have existed. I tracked her electronic correspondence, her banking records, her internet browsing history. Not recklessly, surgically, I proceeded like a physician excising the necrosis from vital tissue. But it was not the telephony logs that shattered me. It was the photographs, concealed in a folder buried beneath other folders. A man, the same smile in every image, the same eyes she used to look at me with, her hand in his, her lips on his. I stared at the display until my own reflection blurred against it. Cold, mute, I ordered a DNA testing kit the next day for my son. For myself, not because I doubted him. No, I already cherished him as my blood, my heir. But because treachery corrupts deeper than flesh, I required certainty. 2 weeks, that is the duration it took. 2 weeks of feigning, smiling across the dining table, holding her hand in public, tucking my son into bed as though I were quietly incinerating alive inside my own skin. Every day she grew bolder. Every day my mask grew colder. And when the missive finally arrived, I opened it with steady hands. The outcome was brutal in its simplicity. Probability of paternity, 0-0. The kind of figure that does not dispute, does not mitigate, does not bargain. I folded the paperwork neatly, slid it into my jacket pocket, and waited until evening. When she returned to the residence, I placed it on the table without a word. She glanced at it, perplexed, then terrified. Her hands trembled as she opened it, eyes racing across the text, widening, glazing with tears. Please, it is not what you imagine. But I uttered nothing. The silence inflicted more damage than shouting ever could. She dissolved into words fragments. Excuses, please. Her voice cracked under the magnitude of her own perjuries. I simply observed, frosty, detached. The balance of control had shifted. She knew it. I knew it. The next morning, I packed her travel case, folded her garments with care, and positioned them by the entrance. When she came into the kitchen, her eyes red and swollen, I slid the suitcase toward her. Leave. Her mouth opened, closed, searching for leverage, finding none. I can justify it. I shook my head once, calmly, conclusively. This house is no longer your property, nor am I. She broke then, sobs tearing through her, the sound of a soul realizing the game was concluded. I didn't yell, I didn't curse, I didn't strike. I simply watched her unravel piecemeal until she was small enough to carry her own luggage out the door. The door closed, and the stillness that ensued was the purest sound I had ever heard. My son sat at the table, coloring. He looked up at me, innocent, untouched by the venom that had saturated his mother's lips. I would rear him, cherish him, safeguard him. He did not need to share my genetic material to be mine. As for her, she no longer existed. Not in this abode, not in my reflections, not in the future I was constructing. Betrayal does not conclude with conflagration. It concludes with absence. And when she vanished from our lives, I felt nothing but lucidity. Not fury, not grief. Just the quiet certainty that the truth had finally liberated me. The final thought as I extinguished the light that night was simple, sharp, and absolute. I'm in charge now.